All right, let's jump right in. We're about to explore a pretty fascinating and honestly a kind of counterintuitive idea that when it comes to living a long, healthy life, the friends you choose might actually matter more than the family you were born into. So let me just ask you this straight up. As you get older, who do you think has a bigger impact on your physical health and well-being? Is it your family or is it your friends? Our gut reaction is to say family, right? But the science tells a very, very different story. To really get to the bottom of this, we have to look at a massive piece of research that basically flipped everything we thought we knew about the link between our relationships and our health completely on its head. And when I say massive, I mean massive. Look at this number. That's how many people took part in the first study we're looking at. Over 250,000 adults from nearly 100 countries. So we're not talking about a small online poll here. This was a huge global deep dive into how our social connections shape our lives. So you can imagine the researchers, led by a guy named William Chopik, digging through mountains of data. They were searching for patterns, trying to connect the dots between relationships and well-being. And they definitely found one, but it was absolutely not what they, or anyone else, was expecting. Okay, so this right here is the big reveal. On the left, we've got family. The support we get from family is, of course, really important, and that importance stays pretty consistent throughout our lives. But now, look at the right side. Look at friends. The importance of friendships as a predictor of your actual health and happiness, it actually grew stronger as people got older. It wasn't a flat line. It actually accelerated over time. Now that finding alone is a bombshell, right? But the researchers knew they had to dig deeper. I mean, a big survey is one thing, but tracking people's actual physical health over time, that's another level. So they launched a second study to see how this all played out in the real world. So for this next phase, they followed a group of almost 7,500 older adults for over 6 years. Now, this kind of long-term study is incredibly valuable because it allows you to go beyond just seeing a correlation. You can start to see what actually predicts future health problems. We're talking about chronic illnesses like diabetes, heart disease, things like that. And this is where it gets absolutely wild. This is the most stunning finding from the entire paper. The quote from the researchers says it all. Only strain from friendships predicted more chronic illnesses over a 6-year period. Just let that soak in. Not a difficult marriage, not stressful relationships with your kids, only the toxic, strained friendships were a major red flag for developing more physical diseases down the road. So let's be super clear. Getting positive support from your spouse, from your kids, and from your friends, all of that made people happier. That's not really a shocker, right? But when they looked at the cold, hard data on physical health, the only negative relationship that had a real, measurable impact was a stressful friendship. That's it. I mean, that's just an incredible finding. But it immediately brings up a huge question. How? How is this even possible? How can a bad friend literally get under your skin and make you physically sick? Well, to answer that, we need to switch gears from social science to cell biology. So yeah, let's just ask it directly. How can something emotional, like a draining friendship, actually translate into something as concrete and physical as a chronic disease? As it turns out, the mechanism is surprisingly direct. The answer boils down to a concept called psychosocial stress. Now, this isn't just feeling stressed out. It's a specific biological state that gets triggered when you feel like a demand from your environment, and a difficult relationship is a classic example, is just more than you can handle. That feeling isn't just in your head. It flips a switch and kicks off a very real, very physical response in your body. And here's that chain reaction, step by step. First, that strained relationship acts as the trigger. Boom. Step 2, your body releases a flood of stress hormones, like adrenaline and cortisol. In the short term, that's your body's way of helping you deal with a threat. But step 3, when it's happening all the time, those same hormones start to cause wear and tear, real damage at a cellular level. And that leads to step 4. All that damage adds up and literally speeds up your biological aging process, which makes you way more vulnerable to disease. So when we say cellular damage, what are we really talking about? Well, it's not some vague idea. We mean specific things. First, it can cause direct harm to your DNA. Second, it's been linked to the shortening of your telomeres. You can think of those as the little protective plastic caps on the ends of your shoelaces, but for your chromosomes. Shorter telomeres are a hallmark of aging. And third, it can create chronic, low-grade inflammation. It's like having a small fire constantly smoldering inside your body, and that's a known cause for a ton of age-related diseases. And this table just puts it all together perfectly. On the left, you see these fundamental hallmarks of biological aging. These are the core processes that cause our bodies to break down over time. And look at the right. The psychosocial stress from something like a toxic friendship directly makes them worse. It pours gasoline on the fire. It's not just in your head, it is literally in your cells, making you older faster. Okay, so that is a lot to take in, I know. The evidence is pretty clear that the quality of our friendships has this profound direct impact on our physical health. So, what on earth do we do with this information? Well, let's think about it as managing your social portfolio. And look, the big takeaway here is not that family doesn't matter. Of course it does. The key insight is that we need to start recognizing and respecting the unique and often underestimated power of the relationships that we choose to build and maintain in our lives. So, what does this mean for you practically? First, you got to invest wisely. Treat your friendships like a critical health asset that's only going to grow in value over time. Second, minimize toxicity. We now know a bad friendship isn't just emotionally draining, it's physically corrosive. And finally, remember, you're in control. The study's author even suggested that because we choose our friends, their quality affects us more deeply. That power of choice seems to amplify both the good and the bad. And so, that brings us to our final question, the one I really want you to take away from all this. As you look at the people you choose to have in your life, you have to ask yourself, is your social portfolio built for a long and healthy life? Something to think about. Thanks for watching.